Welcome to the All About Set Work podcast. In this podcast, we talk about all things set work. That can include training tips, a behind-the-scenes look at what your instructor or trial official may be going through, and much more. In this episode, as part of our ongoing series where we're talking to participants of Cyber Set Work, we're talking with Tracy Martin about herself, her sniffing journey, learning a little more about her dogs, and also her experience in participating with Cyber Set Work. So before we start diving into the podcast episode itself, let me do a very quick introduction of myself. My name is Dianna Santos. I'm the owner and lead instructor for Set Work University, Dog Sport University, and Pet Dog U. These are all online dog training platforms that are designed to provide high-quality dog training instruction, and we're very fortunate to have a client base that's worldwide. For Set Work University in particular, we provide online courses, seminars, webinars, and ebooks that are all designed to help you achieve your set work training goals. So whether you're just getting started in set work, you're trying to develop some more advanced skills, or if you're interested in trialing, we have the training solution for you. Now to know a little bit more about me, let's dive into the podcast episode itself. In this episode, I have the distinct privilege of speaking with Tracy Martin, a professional dog trainer who has participated in Cyber Set Work, because again, we're having this really fun series I'm so excited for. We're listening to people who have actually gone through the Cyber Set Work program, and we're trying to hear what their feedback is. But in addition to that, we also have the opportunity to hear from Tracy about her actual journey into set work, as well as learning a little bit more about her and her dogs. It's all really fascinating stuff. So let's have a listen in on that conversation. I really do want to thank you for joining us for this podcast episode. Again, we're having these conversations with Cyber Set Work participants, but I want to really just know a little bit more about you, about your journey, about your dogs, about Cyber Set Work, your participation, everything. So you want to just introduce yourself so everyone can hear a little bit more about you and how you started in set work?
Absolutely. I am Tracy Martin. I am in the middle of the United States in Kansas. I have my own business, dog training business, and I teach puppy classes and started teaching nose work classes approximately close to 2 years ago now. I discovered nose work many years ago, honestly. Probably about 5 years ago or so was when I had 2 dogs. And so I was, just kind of playing around with it, nothing serious, doing kind of more the marker method of getting them onto odor. And then I just got busy with life and, we just didn't continue with that. And so I came back to it about 2.5 years ago, kind of more seriously. Doc and Maybell are both older now. Doc is 14, Maybell is 13. And I discovered then National Association of Canine Scent Work and started doing more research and more studying and discovered another method of training nose work where you focus more on the hunt drive and building that up, dogs' independence, that the handler's not really involved much in the beginning. It just gelled more for me, and I've gotten very obsessed with it. So I signed up for the certification program through NACSW to get my instructor certification because I had been teaching nose work classes previous to that, but I wanted to incorporate this new methodology and I wanted to do it officially. When I do something, I like to do it as, to the best of my ability. So I did that. And I'm still in that process. I actually does complete all of the requirements for the CNWI. I just haven't gotten an official notification yet that I'm now CNWI.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I thought that I would be using my oldest, Doc Holiday, for my odor recognition test, and I thought we might do a little bit of trialing. He is very active still for a senior dog and really enjoys scent work, but he has some health issues, and so I needed to kind of put the brakes on that. And so I adopted a new dog, a younger, much more energetic dachshund. And so we're kind of starting the journey over with the methodology that NACSW supports of starting on food and, going through that. So did just pass our ORTs recently, but he's doing great. And I'm
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. He's a lot of fun. He's a lot of work, but he's a lot of fun. I teach 3 to 4 classes a week, an intro class, so primary, where the dogs are searching for primary, and then I have a second level of that where we're outside, and then I have intro to odor, where we're putting dogs on birch, and then a second class of that where we're continuing on with birch, and then also introducing anise and clove, and it's been fantastic. I think that there is, for folks that are trainers, that are kind of geeky trainers, the methodology where you're, putting indications on your dog and putting your dog on odor rather quickly and all of those things. I think I understand the draw of that, but I think for the typical dog owner and dog, I find the NACSW methodology is more appropriate, works better, and it works for everybody, whether they're a geeky trainer type or I don't have a clue what I'm doing type. So it's been a really good experience. I'm really enjoying teaching those classes.
That's amazing. And I love the fact that you're sharing all of that with our listeners, because it's something that I think that people forget just with dog training overall is that there's lots of different paths that you can take to get to the same exact goal. And it doesn't mean that, one path is right and all the other paths are wrong. Even
Right.
for the operating training that you're talking about, I mean, I'm a CNWI as well. I follow the canine nose training method. I'm really a big advocate for it. But I do think that there is something to be said that if you had something, let's say a dog who was just extraordinarily footsie, no matter what you did, they were like, smashy, smashy, smashy,
Yes.
all of the time. I think
Yes.
that once they understood what it was that they were doing as far as the game was concerned, that maybe then doing some operant training in order to get a final
Yes.
indication on them makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So I think the great thing about hearing about your story is that we can empower ourselves to figure out what works best with ourselves and with our dogs. And then also being open to change, that we don't become too dogmatic, that we do look for what's going to work best. And that
Yes.
if we can pick and choose, what is going to, again, best help what is that we're trying to do with our dogs and our handlers or as instructors and trainers was going to help each of our clients, because it may not all be the same answer. The more tools in your toolbox is awesome. So I really do appreciate you sharing that, because
Yes.
I think that people get really worried that they're like, oh no, like I'm going to have to like sneak over here and do this. Like, no, no one's going to yell at you. It's fine. Are you hurting anyone? You're not hurting anyone, then by all means.
Yeah, I do think that ultimately the end point is the same. However you get there, it's the same. As long as your dog's having fun, as long as you're having fun, as that the end point is the same, and how you get there doesn't really matter. I appreciate that that I've got now all of that experience, that I've tried it all. Now, well, probably not all of it. I don't know that it's possible to try it all, but I've tried enough of it now that I can, sort of pull from different places. And yeah, you're absolutely right. That, some dogs are going to be ready to start certain things sooner than other dogs. And it's nice to have that knowledge.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just such a big thing. And I hope they don't discount the fact that you probably have more to offer for clients because you have all these additional tools, as opposed to someone who just may very tunnel vision, be like, no, this is the only way I'm going to do it. I'm just going to pretend these other things don't exist. Because that's not really helpful and it's just not realistic, right? At the end of the day, we need to be able to recognize that every single dog is an individual, every single person is an individual, and then the team is an individual too. And they may actually have different journeys where you may think that, okay, well, I'm going to do X, Y, or Z and for this general team and it's going to be great. And they're going along their journey and everything's fine. And then all of a sudden something brand new comes at you. And you're like, I've never seen that before. As an instructor, what do I do?
Yes.
So having all those tools is good.
This last round of intro class, we have an Afghan hound in that class, and it's been fascinating to watch him. I wasn't sure that we've had a whip that come through classes too, and the hounds are different. The sight hounds are different. It's been really cool to watch this Afghan develop, because he came into class initially like, I don't know, is this really what I want to be doing? And now he's like pulling mom into the search area and like, don't worry, mom, I got this. And it's been really cool.
That's amazing. Yes, and that's thank you so much for bringing that up too, because there are absolutely breed differences, and I have adored working with the sighthounds because I don't know if you've noticed this yet, or maybe this is just me, but it seems as though once they understand, first of all, that it's a reinforcing thing for them to be doing, because they're like, is there a bunny? There's no bunny. Okay, I'm gonna go take a nap. You let me know when there's something worthwhile.
Yeah.
But once they figure out, like, oh, okay, like this is bunny-esque, I find them to be extraordinarily true to odor, whether it's food or anything else. Whereas other dogs almost seem to try to figure out a like a straight path through a plume. The scent hounds, at least the ones that I've worked with, will actually follow it absolutely precisely in this most snaking kind of way. And it can drive the owners crazy in the beginning because they think like, oh my God, my dog is so slow. Like, look at all these other dogs, they're searching so fast. I'm like, just wait, because there are going to be some times when that odor plume is so complicated and those other dogs are going to be making assumptions and they're going to miss it. Your dog is going to be able to get it, and they're going to be able to get it a lot quicker. And sure enough, you would see that in class. Oh my God, I love watching them hunt because it's just so interesting to watch. They're like over here and over there and over there. And then the other dog's like, why are you doing all that? I can just go straight through. But I'm like, there are times when going straight through is not going to work out, little dog.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're
really
absolutely right. Now that you point that out, you're absolutely right. I do remember, even saying in class, did you guys notice how, Techie was, that you could almost sort of draw a picture of what the odor was doing just by the way that he was moving. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love them so much. And that's one of the great things. I only offer virtual training now, but one of the wonderful things for instructors like yourself that are offering in-person grip training is the fact that all of your students get the benefit of seeing their other classmates run. And then they have to have your expertise as you are narrating what's going on, because they may not be able to see it, right? Or they may not be able to put all the pieces together, but that is such a wonderful learning experience, and also is a way of helping people recognize just how brilliant their dog is,
Yes.
because they can see, okay, that dog, you're going to have a superstar in every single class, right? The dog is just like finding everything in like 5 nanoseconds, and they're like shining like the sun, and you're like, oh, and the other students like, I'm not doing so well. But then that dog is going to have a weakness at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe they go too fast, they ping pong too much, whatever. And then
Right.
their little dog that they may have been discounting suddenly is able to do this thing that maybe no other dog in the class had an easy time doing. And being able to do all of that and narrate all of that, oh, it's just so empowering. I love it.
Yes.
I miss classes so much.
Yeah, and that is the camaraderie that produces, especially I try and keep my classes together. I'm not like, you got to stay together, but I try to do that as they go through the levels, and just, the dogs that come in that are a little bit shy, everybody's like, holding their breath to see if the dog's going to do something that's a little bit scary, and everybody's like, oh, when they do it. And that's beautiful too, that those relationships that develop and how everybody's supporting the dogs. And maybe that's the thing about nose work that I love the best, is that it so much highlights the dog, and it's one of the few things that do. It invites people into the dog's world in a way that I don't think anything else does. And I really think that people appreciate that.
Yeah.
To really love that, being able to see things through their dog's nose.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. That's actually really well said, because the wonderful thing with this activity is, basically, I'm just restating what you already said, is that it can help people who may otherwise not been able to, quote unquote, really see their dog for the first time, to actually see them. And then that camaraderie that you're talking about, that you're actually taking care with the way that you're doing your classes, to keep them all together, that there is a support system where they can all learn and see and experience their dogs together. And it deepens the bond just all the way around. It deepens the bond between the handler and their dog. But also you have the empathy from the other handlers to the other dogs and to the other handlers, which then builds all these wonderful skills if they ever were interested in competing, or if they weren't interested in competing at all, just dealing with, okay, well, this dog has, something came up. Maybe they had an injury and now they're a little bit more reserved, or maybe they're a little bit more protective because now they hurt, right? As an example, I had a client who was suddenly diagnosed with wobblers, which is a spinal problem. And he was a really great social dog before that, but then he was in a lot of pain. Like if he walked a certain way, he would just scream in agony. It was awful. But because of that, he became reactive because he didn't want anyone to come up next to him really close because he couldn't react. He couldn't, not react as reactive, but he couldn't move out of the way quick enough for him to not feel pain. And the empathy that you felt in the rest of the class, knowing that this dog used to be fine, right? But now he's in pain. And because he's in pain, he's doing these different things. It had a different reaction with them than what you typically see of like, oh, that's just a bad dog. Like, no, he's not a bad dog. He actually hurts. And that's why he's doing these things. So having that ability to grow people's understanding about dogs and to have them be more open and more empathetic on both ends of the leash, I think is such a powerful thing. And I completely agree with you that nose work and scent work is definitely one of the activities, if I would also agree with you, maybe the only one that really does emphasize that point. Because a lot of it is just like human activity and the dog is along for the ride. And this is the dog and we are along for the ride, which is actually really nice. So the one thing I wanted to bring up, or I wanted you to maybe to build on, was you were talking about how you are in your classes using primary to go to other levels where it's not just introducing the dog to the game, but you're actually then taking it maybe on the road or you're building other skills. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
So I do a level 1 introductory where basically the idea is that the dog's learning to be safe, comfortable, happy to search in boxes, and we're using whatever their thing is. So, for most of the dogs, it's food. For some dogs, it's toys. And that's typically indoors and typically, boxes involved. And then we stay on primary into our second class. And so these are 6-week classes. And so the second class is we're doing vehicle searches, we're doing exterior searches, we do field trips. So we're doing much more advanced scent work, nose work activities, but we're keeping the dogs on primary. And I wanted to do it that way because I expected that we would have dogs coming through that might have some environmental sensitivities. And I didn't want to run the risk of, putting them on odor and then bumping up against those sensitivities and having, running the risk of there being negative associations built to the odor. Food is, I think, a more robust, dogs have been eating for all of their lives. And toys the same way. There's typically a pretty robust positive association to those things. And so I think they're less susceptible to having negative associations develop if something scary happens or if they're like, I can't do that thing. So anyway, that's why I like to keep them on primary for that additional 6-week class. I don't have a problem with people, and I recommend to people, quite often, I think your dog would benefit from going through number 1 or through number 2 again. And before we progress to, let's just give them another round of, let's make sure before we add the odor.
Yep. And I wanted you to highlight that because I think that number 1, that's brilliant. Number 2 is really super powerful because a human thing is that we all just assume because it's really super sexy. Oh, look, a dog is finding birch. Ooh, it's like, guys, it's the same exact skills when they're finding a hot dog. Right. But you could, like you said so eloquently, is that if the dog were to come up and let's say that they were searching an exterior search and you had the hide underneath a bush, but unbeknownst to you, part of the branch that your hide was on was semi-broken. And as a dog is trying to stick their head under there in order to snip it, the whole thing falls down. And it doesn't hurt them, but it startles them enough. But as far as the dog is concerned, that could be Birch tried to kill me. Well, now you're kind of up the creek without a paddle because you only got Birch. All the dog has had a single event learning event. And that could potentially really be a problem. So introducing all of these various skills and hunting methodologies with food alone is a brilliant thing to do. It is absolutely, I think, one of the biggest steps that people miss. And it's a really missed opportunity too, because as you said, it is more robust. You can see this even just when your dog is in the backyard or they're just doing their own thing, even inside your house, right? where let's say their ball, their favorite is ball, and they're just sitting there entertaining themselves. You're not doing any training. You're just living your life. You're like, oh my, thank God my dog is doing something on their own. I can do something. And they're just in their living room doing their thing. And their ball rolls underneath the rocking chair that normally that dog is not a fan of because it rocks. You will see that dog try their damnedest to find their ball and to get it because they want to, because they're choosing to. And that ball has a reinforcement history that they can try. If you had that with a birch hide, pretty good luck that they'd be like 10 feet away, be like, it's over there, you go get it for me. Again, I tip my hat to you for doing this, because it doesn't seem like much to people who just don't stop to think about it. But these kinds of choices that you're making as an instructor to best help and highlight the successes that your clients can have, and then those skills that you're importing on them, that even subconsciously that the human client is picking up on, my dog is a little worried about tight spaces, as an example. Maybe I'm going to do some things with food first to make sure that's comfortable, and then maybe I'll do it with my birch. Where for me, I definitely am very much not of the mindset of, well, once you're on birch, you can't go back. I think that's ridiculous. I go back and forth all the time. So allowing people to have that flexibility to really leverage that is great. So kudos on you.
Appreciate that.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about was your dogs. Can you just tell us a little bit more about them? So we heard about Doc and we heard about your new little puppy. What's your puppy's name?
The new one is official name. His full name is Herrick, Herrick. He adopted him a year ago, just after the 4th of July. And he came with the name Harry, Hairy, which I wasn't a fan of. He's laying down right below my feet right now. But he knew it, so I didn't want to change it because he knew it. And it didn't seem to be didn't seem to be any negative connotation for him. So Herrick was a compromise. It's a good, strong German name, and and I can shorten it to Harry. So I changed the spelling, so Harry. He's 4 now. He's a dachshund. I thought he was all dachshund, but I did DNA, and he's got a smidge of Schnauzer in him.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Which makes a whole lot of sense, because he's a very barky boy as well. Has things to say about most everything, but he's a lot of fun. My oldest boy, Doc Holiday, is mostly rat terrier, but he's got some corgi, he's got some doxy, so he's kind of long and low, black and tan dog. He's my soul dog, heart dog. And then my littlest, my middle dog is Maybelle, and she is a Min Pin, Jack Russell, Chihuahua mix. So all little dogs. I had a Great Dane, passed way too young, and so I went the other extreme with my next dogs and went small.
Do you have any people who ever ask you, be like, wait a minute, those little dogs are able to do what you're doing? Really?
I haven't had that. Anybody ask, but part maybe because they've seen them doing it. But, my own experience has been that, anything that's higher than 3 or 4 feet, we're figuring it out. Even I'm figuring it out. Okay, how are you going to pinpoint that, all of that. So that's been a process for all of us. But all 3 of my dogs are confident and comfortable, thankfully. So they have no problem crawling up on things and, getting up, putting their feet up and all those kinds of things. So it's awful nice to have, if you need to be able to carry a dog from, one search area to another. And I couldn't have done that with my big dog, Danny.
Yes, that is definitely a perk.
Yes. I know you are a Doberman person, so I'm sure you couldn't carry the Dobermans from search area.
No.
Do you have a dog now, or are you still without a dog right now?
I am currently dogless. Will probably be dogless for the foreseeable future. So basically, since I rent, the housing market is such right now that it's not clear whether or not if we needed to move again,
Right.
that we'd be able to get guaranteed to be another rental that would accept dogs. So I would never forgive myself if we moved in somewhere, had a dog, and they're like, oh yeah, get rid of the dog. Be like, no. And on top of that, my body has just been a mess, and I would not be able to even take care of a puppy right now. So the goal is to be dogless until we're able to buy a house, and for me to sort out, at least so I could potentially take care of a puppy. But there's a really good chance that I just physically wouldn't be able to do it. So I'm living vicariously through my clients.
That's tough, though. I'm sure it's got to be tough to not have a four-legged critter in the home.
Oh, yeah, it is. But I have to say, one of the great things about the two businesses that I have is being able to see all of the experiences that the clients are having. So even like with Cyber Work in particular, being able to see people that I don't know that, again, around the world are sending us entries, and they submit an entry, we review it, and then having them submit another one, particularly when they are getting the feedback that maybe they weren't doing maybe the jackpots or they weren't doing the parties. And
Right.
we give bonus points for those. So then they're like, oh, I can get bonus points. Like, yes, maybe you should do that for bonus points. And then they do those. And the way that they light up with their dog and the way the dog lights up, oh my God, it is something that carries me over every single day, is being able to look at those videos of those people and those dogs having the time of their lives and improving and deepening that bond. Oh, I'm getting such a sap in my old age. Like I'm sitting here, I'm like bawling like a child, and it's like, oh, look at you with your party.
I'm right there with you. I cry at commercials. I get it. Yeah, totally get it.
So talking about Cyber Network, how did you find out about it?
I've been a longtime fan of Scentwork University. Have taken a good number of the webinars. Love the instruction, and so I was there when Cyber Scentwork was like, "Hey guys, we're going to do this thing," and I think it's fabulous. The program there's so many benefits to Cyber work, not only for myself personally, but also it's fabulous if you are an instructor. It's another offering that we can give to our students. So it's just fabulous.
So how did you use it with your own students?
I had practice class, and I was offering it to anybody that had taken at least a level 1 nosework class. And so, anybody from primary all the way up to, doing field trip classes on odor, on target odor. And that was, so we were already doing those classes. And then when Cyber Scentwork came around, and I was like, oh, and I did the teaching Cyber Scentwork webinar or seminar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so then after I did that, I was like, okay, I can so I added it as a potential during those practice sessions. And of course, everybody that was doing the practice sessions was like, yes, yeah. And what I love about Cyber Scentwork the most is that you can do it whether you're still on food or whether you're already on odor. And that's not true of any of the other, trialing places where you can trial, whether that's, there are places now where you can do virtual trialing, but I mean, I guess I could be wrong. Maybe there are places that I just don't know of where you can do it with food, but or with toys, but I don't think there are.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there may be, I think AKC just started something where it's something separate from them that maybe you can hunt for toys, or maybe it's scented articles or something like that. But I don't think there's anyone that's doing food.
Yeah. And I just think that's brilliant. I mean, kudos to you guys for deciding to do that, because there are lots of people that have no interest in ever going on odor. And this gives them, a taste of, the trialing portion of it. It gives them a chance to win ribbons. It gives them, it gives them all of that stuff that they would have never have had a chance. And, maybe people were, putting their dogs on odor, sooner than they should have, because they were like, I got to get to that got to get to the trials, got to get to the trials. And so, maybe this is giving them a chance to slow down a little bit and still get that, scratch that itch of competition,
Right.
but give their dog the time.
Exactly.
So that's been the biggest benefit for me as an instructor, is to being able to offer it to all of my students. And I experienced this myself, because when as my students were doing it, I was doing it as well with Harry, the brand new dog. So he was on primary as well back then. And, you wouldn't think that, being on video and having to remember to say alert and finish and, all of that stuff would be stressful, but it is. I remember, like, what am I supposed to say? And like my brain wouldn't come up with the right word. So that it does experience a bit of the stress of competition. So I think that's a benefit of doing this. And it's kind of almost like a gateway to the real deal, if you want to call it. Going to trials in person is the real deal. The feedback that my students got was fantastic. Insightful, kind, and students were sharing the feedback with me. So I was like, oh yeah. So it was helpful even to me to be, I was seeing things I hadn't seen that they were suggesting or noticing. And I'm really excited, by the way, about that there's now going to be the video feedback. That's going to be very cool. That's going to be very cool. And then we've had a couple of teams come through where I don't think they've submitted anything, but they've done the practice stuff. And so they may eventually submit some stuff where the dog is, a fantastic searcher. The human side of the team has some limitations. And so that team is probably not ever going to be able to do live, in-person trials. And so the Cybercent work is an outlet for those kinds of, it's not just for reactive dogs who, really reactive dogs who you really shouldn't be trialing with, bitey dogs that you really shouldn't be trialing with. But there are, other components of teams that sometimes will keep people from being able to trial, and 10% work fills in that hole quite nicely.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I'm happy to hear that it's gone well.
Yes.
It's always good to hear it. It's like, oh, but yes, I'm very, very excited about the video reviews as well, because I think that's going to be providing a lot of quality for people. I mean, the write-ups we would try, but then we were like, it'd be so much easier if we can just like show you in the video, like here and this and that.
Yes.
And now we're going to be able to do that. So we're very excited.
And ribbons too, of course.
Yes, of course.
More ribbons. I'm waiting somewhat patiently for my ribbons to come.
Yes, it was something that we kept getting was, hi, like, so I got my level title and I thank you for my ribbon, but could we maybe get some more ribbons? And I'm like, okay, fine. So now we're just waiting for our poor little ribbon vendor, because the way the world is right now, they are just inundated, trying to, get supplies, whatever else. So as soon as we get them, we are sending them out. But these poor people are just working night and day trying to get us these orders. Like, okay, just whenever you can, but just know that our clients are just, they have their pitchforks ready. They haven't stormed the castle yet, but they have them in hand. But the other thing I wanted to point out that you mentioned was the fact that while, of course, it's still a business, we would love for everyone to submit with us, is that you don't have to, is that you can use this as a way to practice with your dogs, for instructors to leverage this capability of giving you the incentive of videoing, and then even just doing the review with your own clients is such a big deal, because you can see more things in the video when you're watching it back. And something that instructors may want to think about, even if you don't do anything with Cybercent work whatsoever, is potentially setting up something like a Facebook group or some other kind of social media thing where you can post the videos from the actual class and you all can talk about it afterwards. Because this is that you can really, as an instructor, you can leverage everything that your clients are learning. Again, you can build upon all those different kind of skills and deepen those bonds and everything else. You can point out specific things. And that's one of the things that we wanted to do with CyberSet, was like, of course, we would like for people to participate with us, but really, I'm a very big picture kind of person. So I just want to address problems. And the problems were that, people were rushing into trial when they shouldn't be. People were attending trials when they shouldn't be. There was a huge issue where people were trying to reverse engineer what they were finding out at trial and then blowing up all their training when they really didn't need to, because they weren't getting training feedback at trial, right? They were getting like these tiny little tidbits that they may have just been snapshots in time, but they weren't reflective of what that team actually really needed. And they were trying to figure out, well, how do I do what this person wanted me to do? Because it wasn't saying, okay, now do this, 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 and this. It was just simply say, will you rush your dog? Oh, okay. What do I do with that? Because that's not what trials are for. Trials are tests. They're not there for training. And the biggest thing is I just want more people playing. I want more people practicing. And I want everyone to be able to do it. I don't want there to be these limitations. I want there to be these camps. Every single dog should be doing scent work. Every single dog on the planet should be doing this. So again, I just want for everyone listening, yes, I would love you all to submit entries to us. We would love it very much. Our bank account would love it very much. Our ribbon vendor would love it very much. All that would be fine, right? Of course. But I would really even more prefer for you to take the things that we're putting together with CyberSet Work and then leverage it. So particularly for instructors, to better help your clients, to better help yourselves, and also to use this as a resource that even if you just did one of these practice classes that Tracy is talking about, and that you had submitted some entries, whatever, that the feedback that you receive from our review officials, you can use as a way to supplement your own program of just getting that other pair of eyes to look. And you're like, well, I don't really want to do that. Then don't worry, go over to Scentwork University and just order a video review, order a video consultation. Like I've been extraordinarily fortunate to have very experienced professionals team up with me as far as participating in these various businesses. And my goal is to have us treat each other as like colleagues and partners in crime, as opposed to just, oh, you are doing the same business that I am. Ugh. Like, I'm not into that.
Yes. Yes.
So I really appreciate you mentioning
that. We're all on the same team.
Exactly.
We're all team dog. All team dog.
Exactly. Well, I really do appreciate you spending all this time with me. It was really, really great. I really wish you and your pups all the best. And
thank you.
Definitely, if there's anything else that we can do to help you on our end, please feel free to let me know.
Thank you, Dianna. This was a lot of fun. It was lovely to see your face and attach it to a voice. And really do appreciate all of the training that you guys provide through the Scentwork University. And I really love CyberSet Work. I think it's fantastic.
In case it wasn't obvious, I love hearing from people. Again, I really do appreciate Tracy taking the time in order to share her story with us. And in it, you can really hear that she's passionate about dog training. She's passionate about dogs. She's passionate about scent work. And hearing about her journey as far as different training methodologies, and even the way that she's really dived into becoming a CNWI through NSCSW is amazing. And hearing about the feedback that she's received from CyberSet Work. And I can tell you that, she is just fantastic as far as the videos that we have seen that she submitted for herself and also for her clients. The passion is there. And again, sharing that joy that scent work can bring to all dogs is something that I am, again, a huge fan of. So I really do want to thank Tracy, not only for participating in this podcast, but also for all she's doing as an instructor. And I hope that anyone who is an instructor who is helping more dogs and handlers get hooked onto scent work, again, even if they don't have any plans of ever competing, that's not the important part. The important part is being able to play the game and to have all the benefits that scent work can afford as far as deepening that bond between dog and handler, giving the dog the opportunity to do something that they are really, really good at, and all the benefits that it can afford both ends of the leash. So if you are out there as an instructor like Tracy and you are helping people really love the game of scent work, I tip my hat to you and I say thank you because you are awesome. So again, I really want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Tracy for talking to us about this podcast. Again, we love hearing from all of our clients. But again, I want to hear from all of you. Did you enjoy this podcast? Are there other topics that you guys are interested in? We are in the process of putting together some additional roundtable discussions with our instructors. I'm really looking forward to those. We will absolutely be continuing the CyberSet Work series because I just love doing these. We're also going to be continuing our Spotlight series, and that's where we talk to individuals or businesses that are giving back to the Setwork community, trying to learn a little bit more about them and to say thank you for what they are doing. So if you know of an individual or a business that's really giving back, please let me know, because I would love to talk to them. Again, I want to thank you all for supporting our podcast. We've just passed 55,000 downloads, which is crazy. We have a very few number of episodes, and to have that many downloads is just, it's amazing. So again, thank you for all of your support. We really do appreciate it. Happy training. We look forward to seeing you soon.